Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session looking at the Queen of Corsica, a tragedy by Francis Jaques, not sure, don't know who he is. Know nothing about this play. It's written around 1642. It might have been performed, but it's 1642. So all bets are off. Basically, it's a manuscript play, which means it's a bit of a mess. So we may be diving down some interesting blind alleys as to the question of how finished it is, and there may be some errors with transcription that may cause issues. So this could be an interesting one. We've also got a lot of text to get through today. So without further ado, reading Achaea and Diocles is...
The sword of Diocles is hanging over my head. Aliki in Greek.
Reading Dorimant, Beotto, and Lady is...
Hello, I'm Lynn. I'm in the northwestern United States. This is my faithful assistant, Scooter.
Reading Natolion and Captain is...
Alan in Suffolk.
Reading Calidor, Alceus, and Ariste is...
Rachel in Canada.
Reading Cleander and Antiope is...
Brian Myers, Portland, Oregon, USA.
Reading Florimond is...
Mark in the Midwest, United States.
And reading Phocillus is...
Connor in London.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading stage directions and generally keeping everything moving forward. So without further ado, there is no prologue, I believe. So we're going to dive straight into Act 1, Scene 1. The general scene protocol is primary entrances for a lot of these scene changes. So they're not necessarily scenes that progress from different cleared stages. There will be a certain amount of stacking with these scenes, so I may run some of them straight through. So Act 1, Scene 1 is a wood. Florimond, Cleander, Dorimant, and Calidor enter. Calidor wounded.
He breathes.
Bow him gently, my lord. There's hope of life enough to quit the trouble. He stirs.
So bless me, gods, as I would succor this noble stranger, for he seems no less.
The shape speaks much for him, but the rude villains regard no laws of honor.
Which way took they?
Towards the thicket, but it seems his hand holds as great charms or valor as his face on love. For 3 of that inhuman crew lie prostrate on the earth from whence I bore him, to hollow you into us.
There are those rogues that prey on rapine in these desolate woods. But, ye gods, if you'll engage me still, give me him back, that I may own that worth which it should seem you once have loved.
Oh.
That sounds, though it be sad, begets a hope that better things may follow. Lift him up.
He opes his eyes.
Oh.
Rest him softly here.
Fortune.
He faints.
What a nimble scorn he closed his eyes, as if he thought the earth unworthy to enjoy him.
Gentlemen, whoe'er thou you be that labor to prolong a wretched life, I would my present fortune would give me leave to thank you. But I pray toil not yourselves, for 'tis a courtesy that I may live to curse you for.
Brave sir, we would be troublesome, not offensive to you, but since the gods have brought us to the place where they so much have suffered in your wounds, we must force your endangered life upon you and serve their wills.
Sees, whither have you brought me? Sure courtesy grows here. All the courts and kingdoms that these unhappy feet have wandered o'er may learn at this wild desert to be noble. I bleed my thanks for you, for it is now the next way for my heart. What may I call this land?
Corsica, whither I dare bid you welcome, a kingdom governed by a maiden queen, and she shall do no less. She's hunting here. My lord Cleander, which way took she?
After the stag, like lightning. Not Diana rides a horse with greater majesty.
She's a queen.
I'm glad on it for your sake, my lord. You are the son we all must look on now, shortly the husband of our queen. But good faith, I spoke not in flattery.
How feel you your wounds, sir?
Nothing, mere scratches. The blow that stunned me was on my head, and 'tis the worst, I hope. Sir, you were my preserver.
'Tis my glory. But, sir, you have taught our wood thieves better manners than to set on you again.
There's the queen.
And Act 1, Scene 2. Wind horns. Then, as from hunting, enter Achaea, Antiope, Florimond, etc. Remain on stage. There are some other people, etc.
Now fie upon thee, Florimond, has lost the bravest sport.
Your Majesty has pulled down the stag, then.
I had such a fall, O Florimond. 'Tis well there were none by. I thought I had killed me.
Would I had been there to have helped your Majesty up.
'Twas well you were not. But up I got, and when the cruel hounds were all upon him, good faith, the poor beast wept.
Could you blame him to see your Majesty so unmerciful?
I must put off my majesty, I see, for you will be familiar.
She embraces and kisses him. Natolion frowns.
My lords, can you brook a subject to be so bold with your queen?
You, what are women? That a queen should dote upon a subject whom she should forgive if there be gods. My brain hold.
But, madam, I've ta'en a nobler say, and leaving your blessed presence for a while, the gods were pleased to entertain my thoughts with an adventure worthy my best thanks, as of your court and favour.
Oh, Florimond presents Calidor to the queen.
Florimond, they must be dear to us whom you commended. 'Tis in thy power to make him what thou wilt. But found you him thus wounded? I think that's probably Florimond. Unless we have a Dorimant.
Oh, I am sorry, madam, I did. But yet, with so much honor on his side that two villains only left of five did seem to have made way murder to his life, them to conquest.
Sir, receive our love, and when this isle affordeth for your help, command a satisfaction for your wrong. Bless you bleed much. Let me see your wounds, sir. We spend too much on idle compliment when we should be doing. Sister, pray ye, pluck off and tear my veil to bind his wounds.
Here, a scarf will serve. Quickly, quickly, madam.
So.
Madam, your excellent goodness makes me blushing to see my blood graced by your sacred hands ere it hath served your highness. But be pleased, now it hath learned the way into your feet, for to command it, and the life that will be proud to follow it.
I accept of both, and for a testimony of my love, I prithee, Florimond, take him to thy heart and use him as my friend.
Florimond embraces Calidor.
It is a gift next to your gracious self. I thank the gods for it. Come all my bliss in man, receive an armful of loyalty and service to thy bosom.
'Tis devilish hot love.
Henceforth, friends, no strangers any longer. Yet thy pardon, for I may seem too fond to make thee mine, and not thy name.
Men call me Calidor, but you have made choice of a friend in me that knows no kin or parentage, acquainted with nothing in myself but my misfortunes. And if you ask my country, I know none but the wide world, nor anything in it but rapines, murthers, incest, pride, and scorns, who by the tempest of my passions hurled to the surly seas, by them betrayed to pirates, and by those pirates cast upon the shore amongst land wolves. And from them into your mercy comes your poor broken friend. The earth that last I wandered in was that Sardinia that would not call me son. I snatch my griefs and go to look out fortune.
Ye have prevented some questions I intended to propose, but sleep the memory of your sufferings. I will not wake it.
See that face? My lord Dorimant, you have found a pattern for nature to work by. Haven't the Princess Antiope now?
And Phocillus courting Antiope aside, Alceus frets.
Nay, see, my lord Phocillus is driving that nail home.
Aye, but Alceus will not let him clinch it. See how their eyes quarrel. They were the greatest friends. Alceus trusted him to woo for him, forsooth, and he did so, but got her heart for himself.
Let's go forward the queen to marry Florimond and the Princess Phocillus, two subjects, because they have good faces. pages then be privy counsellors?
Will you stand yet betwixt your son and his advancement?
My son shall be no king while I'm a subject. Florimond, be wise.
The strange part of a father, this. He has held off the match this 2 years, and 'tis thought will not permit the queen to marry yet. But he's wise.
Above my understanding, he rules the roost.
Alceus comes up to Phocillus.
My lord Phocillus, I've waited long upon your chat to tender my service to the princess.
It were goodness you did so still.
We shall meet.
If you shun not the way,
This is no place.
one of your servants, madam, are dispatched.
Oh, alas, poor gentleman, I pity him. But good Phocillus, bear him for my sake. He's of a modest temper, and I prithee decline all quarrels with him.
I have none. For trust me, I could love him as myself. But when he stands competitor for you, could he be nearer to me than my brother? I would break through the heart and in his blood write my just title to you.
What needs this? The gods themselves ne'er heard me swear but once, and then 'twas to be thine. But here's no place to give fresh testimonies.
Achaea and Florimond fall from their whispering.
Well, my Florimond, the time's not lame that brings thy joys along. Thou shalt have all content. Most noble sir, let us to horse and haste to make your welcome up free and noble.
I am all your majesties.
My lord Natolion, I hope ere long to ask your blessing. Do you smile at it?
And they all exit apart from Natolion, who remains for scene 3.
Queens rule not for themselves, nor is it safe for subjects to control their appetites. But my heart tells me that for me to be disloyal is to be honest, and I will. The gods, I hope, have sent this stranger hither for their own glory, and the troubled state answers my hopes. Must my son, oh my soldier, how dost teem with horror, the queen? And she, oh, plot my brain, it must not be.
Exit Natolion, and we have a proper end of scene. A lot is thrown at us in that scene, but it's quite nicely done. I'm really liking the structure here. It starts with this sort of sense of urgency of, oh my god, he's just this guy, he's injured, oh, what's happened, he was set upon by there's all these bodies back here. It's like, you know, I suppose you could start with a sword fight and see that action, but it's really sort of throws you into it and feeds you exposition actually quite naturally. It's quite nicely done. Aliki.
Right, that's what I was going to say. It's really engaging. That whole, you'd think, oh, a friend of theirs been hurt. No, it's a stranger. He's what? He's killed how many people? Amazing, really nicely done. And then the whole court business comes crashing into that and illuminates its own little intrigues.
Yeah,
Fun.
the queen just sort of saunters in and goes, oh, what's going on here? Oh, do some introductions. Hi. And then, yeah, we get all the court intrigue, which I think for a read is a bit difficult to sort of figure out who's who. I think on stage that's not an issue. I think that's more we just can't see them and they've got all similar names and forgetting, you're not quite sure who's related to who and it's slightly difficult to get that in. But I don't think that's badly done. I think that's more our problem, but I could be wrong there, Lynn.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm having a hard time keeping track of what's going on, but I'm sure that staging would take care of like 90% of that confusion. I am finding the syntax a little hard to parse at times. Yeah, I had a line where I have no idea what I just said. But again, you know, on a cold read, that's going to be a problem. Almost certainly, and maybe with just a little study, you go, oh, there's the main verb. There's what I'm doing. But and also I'm a little unpersuaded by Natolion's motivation. It's like, oh, I can't possibly let my son marry the queen. That would be improper. Okay. Okay,
It is
but
an interesting gambit, isn't it? I'll go to Rachel, then to Mark.
Yeah, I'm feeling there's something we don't know yet about Natolion that will explain his hesitation to have his son marry the queen. I'm waiting to find out what that is.
Mark.
Yeah, I mean, so far it seems like he's just like, I'm so committed to my ideal of a queen would never wed someone who's below her in status that I couldn't possibly, which if that's all it is, it's like I'm not sure how that was supposed to read to the audience at the time, but obviously to modern sensibilities, it's like it's like what is wrong with this guy? It's like,
There are people like that who are very aware of the social statuses and things, and would be horrified by that crossing of the floor, because it's like they're the head of state. You don't make these, you don't do that. Maybe.
Yeah, it's mostly just like that, plus the fact that like he has so much to gain in social standing if he just is like, okay, cool. Love is love, thumbs up. But he's so committed to his bad ideals that he's just not about it at all, to his own detriment.
And then we also get these little asides, these little people going, look what's going on over there in that corner. No, he didn't stand a chance. It's like these little comments and then little scenets, and it's it's a question of just, hopefully it's just throwing little seeds around plot-wise, that they will grow into more developed things as we go on. I think it's just dropping the hints of what this court is doing in sketch form, and we see where we go. But yeah, it's thrown a lot at us in a relatively short space of time, and it's not a desperately long play. It's not a short play, but it's not an excessively long play, so it's economical. And I sometimes like a bit of economy. Sometimes it's nice not to have to figure out where to cut things, because there's nothing to cut. It is all pretty much enacted. Okay, let's dive into possibly the B plot. Act 1, Scene 4. Enter Diocles and Beotto.
Beotto, the queen, will marry Florimond out of hand for certain.
I doubt her honor required it sooner. Her flank is sufficiently filled with something, but I'm a fool.
Full of a traitor, o my conscience, the worst that ever was, thou speakest treason as easily as wiser men are hanged for it.
If I had my right, 1,000 such as thou had been cut into 100 pieces for your treasons. But I hope the gods have ears.
So must no man have long that accompanies thee, whilst there's a pillory in the kingdom.
And that graybeard, Natolion, that looks like an owl in great ruff. Y'all have fine tricks. Durst put my poor boy, his lawful prince, into a scullion's place.
Why, he'll learn to quarter and parboil against he be king. My lord Natolion was wizened.
You'll answer this, Diocles. You dare all abuse me, but the queen had as good marry my son as that catamite Florimond, and so set the crown in the right place, if that unfortunate prince, her brother, had not miscarried.
He would have given thee the kingdom to thee, I warrant.
'Tis mine by right, for everybody knows her mother would have touched, and I'm sure the old king was not able.
Prithee keep thy treason within doors, lest I be hanged for hearing thee.
Yes, Act 1, Scene 5. Enter the captain to Diocles and Beotto.
Who's that?
The finest fardel of impertinences that follows the court. I use him for my second course, a fellow of a crazed brain, and verily thinks himself the true heir to the crown. If thou desire to hear treason spoke, freely accost him.
'Tis not he the lords make such sport with.
The same. I would king him into one of his fits to cross Natolion, whose austerity could never brook him.
I thought his wisdom could not have stumbled to the fool.
Extremely. But this fool does as verily think he shall be king at last, as I'm sure your captainship would borrow money now if you knew where.
Save you, sir.
All that Diocles has told you, sir, is true. I should not need to go in this old suit of Natolion's providing if I had my right.
No, faith, you would be carried about half a mile out of town.
To the gallows if you might have your will. But, sir, you seem a captain. I'm the most wronged man in Corsica. I'm the true king. I'm not ashamed on it. But my overrule right, I've better blood in my body than the queen, but that's no matter. The queen's a woman. Yet she's some kin to me, I must confess.
She's beholden to you, Beotto. Everybody will not know their poor friends.
Pray hold your peace. This gentleman understands sense, I warrant you, but indeed she's of a younger house.
I wonder you do not claim the crown.
I did once, but Natolion caused me to be whipped from the court gate quite through the city. Hell plague him for it.
But how prove you your title?
Records show 600 years agone that I was to succeed. They keep 'em close enough from me. Aye, they are brave counselors, sure.
Act 1, Scene 6. Enter Florimond and Calidor, 2 Diocles, Captain and Beotto.
Ah, what does that fool do here?
Aye, they are fools with you that would be kings, but I would that you would not rob me of my right.
Away with him.
Be gone, be gone.
Well, there are gods above.
What strange fellow's this?
A frantic that sharks hear about the court. He came to the lords at the death of the queen's father and swore he had revelation from the gods to demand the crown as his right, with such whimsies as but make him to the court ridiculous, and so he passeth.
Exeunt Diocles, Captain and Beotto, at some point around there.
But, my noble friend, I must not waste my breath, for I shall want to pay my thanks to heaven. Tomorrow, Calidor, thou must wait on the nuptials of the queen. My hopes are answered, friend, and secretly, with next sun, I shall wed her in her closet.
I wonder at your father, though.
Oh, friend, my fate has broke his plots, whate'er they be, and the blessed morn shall see me court a bride as fair as his own mistress.
Hymen be there, and all his blessings. May you teach Venus joys, and chain peace captive ever to your land.
Put off thy wounds, tomorrow thou shalt dance, and in the cradle of her blessed chin lay all thy griefs asleep. Come quickly morn, or else my joys will turn me into air. Ah, Calidor, is she not sweet? All goodness, all heaven, all delight. Gods, be not wrath, I forget my orisons tonight in dreaming of her face.
You do oblige him to shower down blessings on you. Be you happy, and if your fortune call to draw a sword, I have an arm, and one I hope will cut.
I thank thee, friend, and what this honor draws along with it is thine. But I would do, and not talk much.
And they exit, and that's the end of Act 1. Lynn, straight in.
I just wanted to get my predictions out before anybody else. Calidor is the queen's long lost brother, and the fool he's going to be right about him having some kind of royal connection in some kind of weird, ironic, funny way. I'm guessing that's not just random. Beotto really is kind of who he says he is. And the conflict over the queen's marriage will be resolved by the fact that her brother shows back up. Although I'm not as confident in that prediction as I would be if this weren't called a tragedy.
Yeah. If it was a comedy, you kind of,
a tragic comedy. If it was called a tragic comedy, we'd be like, oh yeah, that's
yeah. It's a question of how many people are going to survive the play is always an important question, and we've got this clown figure who, if they're involved in a question of who's in charge, you're going, well, if it's a tragedy, they're not necessarily going to survive the play. If it's sometimes they kill the clown. It doesn't happen often, but sometimes it does, even in tragedies. So yeah. other thoughts? There's nothing like two chaps saying, "Oh, I'll be you and I together. We're forever." I can't see that going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see any problem there of them.
Oh yeah, that always works out. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not going to be any conflict there. I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's gonna be
Rob
fine.
makes good point.
Yeah, it's setting up an awful lot of potential hairs, and it is really an interesting which ones are we actually going to be chasing in this play. Because you're right, there's an awful lot of stuff about what is this guy doing, what is Beotto doing here, and how significant is it, or is he just a red herring? I'd quite like just this random. There's even today you get people saying I'm really the king because of my thing or whatever. There's always someone who believes in that kind of stuff. Mark.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, maybe it's actually gonna be a thing, that some of what he's saying is true, but maybe it's also a bit of a red herring, a bit of a misdirect to give an opportunity so that the play has an opportunity to plant some seeds of, like, oh, the queen had a brother who would probably be in charge if the queen weren't here. Like, that'll be important, even if it's not related to this fool.
And of course, because we know it's 1642. The other thing we know, of course, we're at the sort of the end of this period, where it's all sort of been done before. So we're all sitting here watching all of these things going. I know the conventions of drama, so all of these options are currently available because they might come from here or there or there. And it's really going to be an interesting question which ones it actually picks, and where it goes. And is it possible in 1642 to be original? Discuss. Right. So let us crack on. Act 2, Scene 1. Enter Achaea, Ariste, and the well-known lady.
I am desperately sick.
One of your old fits, madam.
Such pangs I am not able to endure. A woman big with child, I am persuaded, could not feel greater torments.
By my faith, madam, your doctor thinks you are.
Have I upon thee, wench, with child?
By my troth, he took me seriously.
God's forbid, and never knew man. Had I gone astray, I should have feared as much, but prithee mock not, he's a wise doctor.
I protest, madam. I had never so much ado in my young days as to preserve my maidenhead from dreams and goblins. They are dangerous things, madam.
No, I have some tympan, I doubt. See how I'm swelled on air.
You hurt yourself with lacing so straight.
Alas, they'd say else I were with child indeed. So, I'm pretty well now.
My lord Florimond anon will work a perfect cure upon you.
Oh, no, well thought on. When he comes, as it will not be long, pray say I'm private and will not be seen.
This is most strange. Why, 'tis your wedding day.
It should have been indeed, but Cupid hath forbid those banns. My heart's ashamed, but I'm not within.
And exit Achaea can be inferred.
Oh, wondrous strange. If this be true, I would I were a man, for women are most vile and faithless creatures.
Things are not right. My heart would fain.
Act 2, Scene 2, continuation. Enter Florimond to Ariste and lady.
A good day to you, ladies. Where's the queen?
Private, and would not have you trouble her.
Come. Unlock the door that I may catch her amongst all her blushes.
My lord, you must not enter.
Away, fool not thus.
By my life, you must not. I speak truth. She has commanded not to admit you.
'Tis impossible. Hymen will rage at this.
Let him be pleased again. We cannot help it.
Oh, you gods! If you intend to fool me, tell me so. I do believe your powers that you can raise a storm on Amphitrite's smiling brow, blast beauty with a frown, or fill the world with blood and horror, tie the poles together, chain up Boreas in a lady's hair. All this I do believe. Her chaste faith is something like yourselves, inviolable. Methinks this should not be. Oh, here she comes.
Achaea beckons the ladies to depart. As we infer, she enters. Exeunt ladies, Achaea weeps.
I knew it could not be. Her eyes shoot love, as they were wont, and carry Hymen's torches. Ah, madam, you still number in my joys when unexpected. I was almost frighted to hear the ladies talk.
Act 2, Scene 3. Achaea and Florimond are alone.
Where's the priest?
Madam, he waits without.
Yet for all this privacy, thy politic father will know at last, and he'll be angry.
What subject dares be angry when 'tis once done?
But thou must swear to grant me a few things first.
Alas, what call I mine that is not yours already? May I grow here and shoot a poisonous weed into the air if I deny you any... May I grow here and shoot a poisonous weed into the air if I deny you anything?
Swear then never to see me more.
How, madam?
Never to see me more.
Spare these bitter jests. You cannot mean this.
Yes, from my soul, command it.
If these unhappy eyes that never joyed in anything but you grow odious to you, I will reserve them for no use but tears. But sooner may you make the flowing seas fast to the shore, and never more return into the hidden bowels of himself than me swear this. Alas, let me not lose the sight of all my joys, although I be unworthy to possess him. You are my queen, and I will lay my life down at your feet to do you ease, but you command a thing wild horses and enraged elephants can never draw me to.
You must, Florimond, and forget me forever.
Now you are cruel. You wound me deeper than the hand of death. Forget you. Why, this forlorn soul of mine that hath no comfort left upon the earth, yet hopes, when she were hurried to the vale whence never foot returned, she might have leave among the shadows of forsaken lovers to meditate on you. Not see you hence, nor think on you henceforth. Ah, madam, madam, your heart is not so hard as you would make it.
I grieve for thee. Thou wert ever faithful, but thou must kill thy interest.
You weep.
She pauses a pretty while and then goes on.
Oh, Florimond, the gods have been unjust. I am with child. I know not how.
What said you?
The doctor told our so, but me this, it should not be. I have heard indeed the gods have done to women so, but the babe that hangs upon the tender mother's breast is not more free from any act of man than I am. You blessed powers, I know I lie not. Confront me else with thunders.
Is this all that you refuse me for? Oh, how I tremble. Madam, you do mistake your Florimond, for were your faults as many as my fears, and blacker than oblivion, yet you would appear a star to me. With child, alas, a little fault in woman, and so dear you are to me that I will put my life betwixt you and your infamy. I'll call the priest and take you to my bed and bosom. I'll make him say he married us long since and save your honor. This I will do for you.
Ever man should love a woman so as thou dost me. Belief can ne'er take hold of such a vow as this.
Why should you think so?
Why? What is he that wears but man's bare name and stoops so low? It is impossible that thou, which art reputed in the world, that the court of honor should become so base to father such a shame. Oh, if thou shouldst, how should I rest secure from thy wild fury, when it once saw again, it cannot sleep always to thee?
Perhaps I should be loath if it were strange, but 'tis no new thing. This and he that lives below what I have promised may smoke and glim, but never take true flame into his bosom.
How I pity thee. I know thy heart, but yet for all this zeal, there is a thing thou wilt not do for me.
Name it. You have laid such burdens on me, I cannot fear a worse.
Thou wilt not do it.
I swear I will, although it ruin me. Why should you coin these doubts?
And I adjure thee by all the ties of loyalty and oaths to go to Calidor and woo him for me. Use all the power thou hast to make him love me, or tell him that I die. I love him, Florimond, and prithee fail me not.
Whores, panders, villains, sink to my heart and drown my loyalty that I may kill this monster. Oh, you gods, can you hear this and all be dumb? And treason and murder's nothing.
Hold! Thou darest not strike.
Flings away his sword.
Away, fond weapon. Go and serve some hand henceforward that dare use thee. She's my prince, and they may say their pleasure, while we wear their injuries as favors. Foolish tears, would you could wash your somethingy foul rash oath away. Madam, you'd not exact it, sure.
I must
I will not do it.
be perjured then.
The sweet delights of women, who can tell, and who their poisons? I must pander turn to please my ruin. But alas, I've sworn, I must go through. Madam, never wrong was like to mine. You have made me a quicksand to drown a vessel fraught with honor, that ere the sun saw miserable, may no part of all wrongs follow you. He that trusts a woman's looks may write upon the sand, and as well make it 20 winters hence. Falsehood and you are twins. When you do good humor, not virtue rules you. Your false tears are poison that will eat an iron heart. Winds are not more inconstant, and the sea ebbs and flows not more often than your loves. Cruelty is your handmaid, and the beauty the gods bestow. You make your slaughterman. Oh, happy is that man that ne'er kissed your box of poisons, nor beheld the nets you strew upon your face when you deceive. Spiders express you best, and crocodiles. The holiest of you are but handsome sins, and men in charity do call you women.
You take much liberty against our sex, but will you do my will?
Madam, your pardon. I would I were more wise, had less cause to talk so out of order. But when Calidor shall come to know the wrong we offer him, what wonder is it he take revenge and fling him on our heads?
I warrant him.
I should say something, but my heart is full. I will go pour it in some desert place where man may never see me. As much joy as you did promise me, I wish unto you. Peace rests upon your womb. If in the height of your delights you hap to think of me, say, Florimond was faithful. So farewell. And if I die ere night, bestow a tear, if you can spare it, on me. 'Tis not much. The gods will thank you for it.
And we can infer the exit of Florimond.
Mighty love, pardon thy own injustice. I shall grow my sex's miracle. Give me him, my Calidor, though with him I live wretched, or else provide a solitary grave to hide me with this pledge of heaven's wrath. I had forgot to swear him secrecy.
And we're going to pause there before we go into scene 4. Yes, I shall grow my sex's miracle. And there is a stage direction there, meaning her infant in her belly.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to do that, but...
Yeah, which I wasn't going to read out. I just left that as a side note. So, yeah, we have got... I mean, Florimond has got due cause to be a bit narked, but he also does go on a bit. You know, it's a bit much. So it's like, I'm sort of with him initially, and then I'm sort of going, you're really losing me now. Yeah. But I just love, you take much liberty against our sex, but will you do my will? It's like, yeah, you've said a lot of really horrible things, but are you actually just going to do what you said you were going to do? Are we cool? Are we cool there? Yeah. So, Lynn.
Yeah, I'm so confused. Yeah, it is a little long. I'm like, oh yeah, I have time to get a cup of coffee. So she is pregnant, but she's never had intercourse with a man that she remembers. Is that right? And
Does she know what intercourse with a man is?
yeah, and she has fallen for Calidor and is asking her lover to convince Calidor to marry her. Is that right?
Well, yeah, because it's like, you know, it's the wedding night, and it's like, you know, in theory, it's the arranged wedding night, and where's the priest? And he's waiting outside, and then he comes out. So just promise me one thing before we get going. Go away. So it's yeah.
If her problem, right, is that she's never had sex and she's pregnant, and it's going to be terribly embarrassing to marry her sweetie because everybody is going to think they did it ahead of time. How is marrying somebody else going to solve her problem?
I mean, it's and we've got this whole thing that obviously, you know, Florimond and Calidor, you know, previous scenes did the whole bros together, man. Yeah, it's like, and it's like this is to throw it in a different direction. And yeah, Mark.
Yeah, I suppose it has to be that her excuse is about not feeling well, and then her excuse about, like, I'm pregnant, which seems to be true. But those seem to have just been, she's trying to find an excuse to call off the wedding. And then he's like, you know what? I don't care. I don't care that you have that you're pregnant. I don't care how. I don't care why. I'm gonna marry you because I love you. And she's like, okay, I gotta tell the truth, which is I don't want to marry you. I want to marry your new dude bro friend. Sorry about it. You just swore you would do anything I ask you to, so go woo him for me.
Rachel, were you waving? Yes.
I'm surprised about some of this. I'm not surprised that she's developed an affection for Calidor if she has. I thought there'd be some sort of rivalry between the new friends, but I didn't see it playing out this way.
Brian.
Wasn't there a line? Was it Natolion who says the presence of this stranger will have some effect on her? There was a little foreshadowing of some kind, vague kind, early on that this was going to be a connection somehow.
Yeah, I think in that first scene there is a moment, even if it's not like someone turns to the audience and goes,
no.
One line. That doesn't quite happen, but there is obviously a meet cute in there somewhere. Lynn.
Yeah, the Natolion, the boyfriend's father, says the gods have sent this guy here for a reason. So yeah, fate or the gods or kismet or whatever, the powers that be have sent Calidor here for a reason. That something's going. I mean, yeah, it's obviously signaling that there's plot, as if we didn't know. So
yeah. So okay. So, but the whole pregnancy thing is confusing. If it was just that she'd been getting on with Calidor and she was pregnant, and you know there was a time gap between Act 2 and Act 1 and Act 2, then that all sort of would be fine. But that doesn't seem to be what the dialogue is telling us. Alan, then Mark.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be some sort of time gap, because one wouldn't have thought that she'd been riding, chasing stags, if she was as heavily pregnant as this scene suggests.
Oh, I think she's quite early on, because she's not. People don't necessarily know. But I do think there is some kind of time gap. I think there is an intimation that a little bit of time has passed. Mark.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, it feels like it could be like we're supposed to at least question whether, like, she actually hasn't had sex because she has changed her mind about her man here. But, like, in her asides and stuff, like that last little speech, she doesn't say, like, and I lied about not knowing why I'm pregnant. So yeah, it's interesting to see where that's going.
Yeah, shall we see where it's going? Because the scene isn't over yet. The scene is not over because awkward conversations may continue as Act 2, Scene 4, enter to Achaea at Natolion.
But he's faithful. Oh, Natolion, thou'rt come to chide me o'er again today about my Florimond.
I would your majesty would be persuaded. 'Tis not I, but your own mother's precept to you then, when she had but 3 words to speak, to shun his love. She laid a curse upon you if you married him.
Thou art the worst of fathers I e'er heard of. I have at last o'ercome myself and will provide for him another way. I found a man above him in the gods' esteem. Calidor, lovely Calidor.
Calidor?
Is that a wonder to thee? At what starts you? Can any snake lurk in that sweet, sweet name?
For heaven's sake, be a queen once. Calidor, you are not serious, madam.
Why, is he not one molded king?
This is fine. A fellow cast ashore the other day and nearly made a lord for this intent.
Who weds to kingdom's honour or estate and knows no love, ties but herself unto a glorious poverty. I am your queen, and will ask leave of none but my affection.
Princes must look into their kingdom's weal, as well as their affections in their choice.
By your good will, I must have nobody.
Exit Achaea.
Worse and worse! What sudden rubs do jostle a virtuous purpose? Honesty may beg to get employment, and me baffled in't. Oh, you unsearchable decrees of fate, prostitute not your favours to such ends as do destroy your own divinity. Here comes my new lord, to whom I now must sift. Save you, my lord.
Act 2, Scene 5. Enter Calidor in a new gallant suit to Natolion.
My lord, I thank you, as I have done the queen, and some 12 ladies more besides the secretary. I would the rest of the lords were here, that I might thank him altogether. I am weary of the title, and fear this preferment may make me forget my name.
Lord, I hope you do not slight the queen's favours.
Oh, my lord, I trust your professed favours cannot slide into such a misunderstanding. I receive this honour from her majesty as I would an angel to my bosom. Yet I could wish fortune had mocked me less.
Your worth, my lord, deserves the titles, and the additement of means cannot be wanting after them.
Yet I am but an upstart all the while. It is the favourite's hell, that when we are puffed up by fortune till we almost burst, we are envy's footfalls at the best, and so are used. Give me the humble life that makes men saints, teaching felicity how to be constant, and the world a way to become young again, such as the gods created it at first.
That veriest villain, or the bravest fellow that is within my knowledge.
How comes this?
My reasons drawn from your carriage, which I must confess is bold and genuine, and betrays that in you that you would hide, more than a common strain. And if your aims be like it, I believe they are most noble. But if you, to cloak some plot as to explore or fish the state, obtain this garb upon you, you are not the man you pass for. You abuse the kingdom, and must not look to lull us all asleep. You have told me a long story of Sardinia, which makes me to suspect you, and I hear you wear a privy coat.
I wear a privy coat. Come, my lord, this is not noble in you. Let me not be made the work of each informing rogue that preys upon the dishonour of the state. See here, I am not ashamed of this poor breast, nor of the story of the heart it carries, which shall knowledge whether this be in your commission.
Brave, brave boy, this makes me young again and tells my resolution right. But then Alceus and that thunderbolt of Jove, Phocillus, must be halted. Work my brain, treason and loyalty together reign.
And they exit. Let's just, and that's, yes, we can say that's the end of a scene in very real terms there. It's Thunderbolt of Love, it's not Jove.
Oh, beg your
Yeah,
pardon.
no, good gambit. It could go either way. Yeah, that is one of those things. There are several little things where they're going, not quite sure which way to leap on that one, but that one looks firmly to be an L. Anyway, so yeah, again, Natolion, which way is this dark guy going? It's like, I love the way the Queen just goes, "You don't want me to marry anyone, do you? What? Well, you are never satisfied. What is wrong with you?"
That
He's
was a
very-
great kind of teenager with an over strict dad vibe there. I was like, I can't get anybody.
Yeah, it's just, and it's like, who's actually in this instance, who's he to say? I mean, he is really about stick in your lane, isn't he? Nobody is allowed to, everybody's got to come from the right place and stay in the right place, and no social mobility is allowed whatsoever. It's very weird. Aliki.
Although it did emerge there's some kind of curse on Florimond if she marries him.
Yes,
So-
mother's curse. What's going on there then? Who's related? Yeah, is there something we don't know? Difficult to tell. Yeah, it's intriguing. I still don't quite know where to leap with this one. It's strange. I'm not enjoying it. It's still sort of all there. It's just, yeah. Any other thoughts?
And then
yeah,
this mention of Alceus and Phocillus, who haven't been introduced yet, have they?
well, they've been on. Yeah, they're in the
Yeah,
first
but
scene.
we don't know anything about why he calls one of them a thunderbolt of love.
Well, we did see they were, there was a bit of wooing in a corner, but that was
Okay,
about it.
okay.
And it's like he just doesn't want anybody to be happy, does he?
So it's being kind of very light on its feet with the storytelling, sometimes to the point that it loses at least me in this reading, but not necessarily us in a staged version.
Well, I think in this point, when he says that, I wouldn't have remembered who they were by name from when they were introduced. However, the next scene literally is them that he's just named. So it's more a call forward than it is an expectation to call back. He's just setting up. There's some other plot business that's going to happen in a second. That bad. There's some people going to be having a bit of a Barney any second now. It's your cue. It feels like that is actually literally just cueing their entrance. This is your 10-second call. Please be standing by in the wing. Right. Oh, let's have that scene then. Act 2, Scene 6. Enter Alceus and Phocillus. Drawn.
Draw!
Not in the princess's lodgings.
Not the altar sacred to concord and the common peace can fence me from my vengeance. Didst you lurk with the princess's bosom midst thy charms, which have bewitched her? I would force thee out. Draw, and that presently lest my injuries make me turn coward and forget all mercy.
Take heed of naming her in this mad mood, for then my patience will give up my heart. So let in thy ruin. I am so loath to put rage in such a place as this.
Not name Antiope. Yes, I will speak loud. She will prove poison to thee. Oh, the name of holy friendship, tell him from my point how he hath wronged thee, base and false Phocillus. The pool wherein the devil spawns his treachery, maintain the wrong which under friendship's mask thou didst me in my love. My wits, my fortune, when thou betrayedst me. Stay, the gods shall hear, or I will snatch the thunder from the skies and make them. They shall hear how when I trusted my bosom and when my passions to thy tongue, that it might give them new life to her ear. Most shamefully, most traitorously you didst. Have at thee, scandal me to raise the fabric of thine own rotten fortunes.
And they fight. Phocillus is wounded.
I return that breath unto thy bosom.
Where ye next?
Act 2, Scene 7. Enter Antiope to them.
What sauciness is this? How can you, most unworthy fellows, so forget all reverence of me in this place, as to dare to act your brothel furies here? Is this a shop for murder and such hackster villainies as whores would blush at? Where are you? In Bedlam? What is the chamber of a princess? Nothing. You are not drunk so early, sure. Begone, unworthy of your swords. If you will quarrel, get into the street, and there be beat by broom men.
Madam, please you to hear.
What, you two scold like insatiate butter women? No, sir, no. Phocillus, thou hast gulled my fair opinion extremely, and I here pronounce thee to be the poorest spirited fellow of a kingdom, false and ungrateful. By my virgin honor, thou art no better.
You are just in all things.
And you, sir, whom I cannot speak to now with any patience, how came you to get this base ambitious spirit that carries you to acts too silly for a child to own? I would not shame thee.
I deserve all, madam, and humbly beg a pardon for myself and this rude hand that durst attempt to wound the man you love so well. But who can bear an enemy like him? Madam, you know you loved me once, above him and or all the world. At least you made me so believe. Then do not so favor him that stole your heart away, to bid him spare me.
You remember much. But since you have committed such an outrage, I charge you both henceforward not to dare to see me, and look to it, for he that first infringes my command shall find it is not safe to offend a princess of the blood. So, two egregious cowards as you are, fight if you dare.
Fight, if I dare. Methinks it is a word too big for love to speak unto Phocillus. Let that mortal come, that stamps upon the earth and calls it his, bearing a ramping lion in his mouth, and he shall hear me roar as loud as he. Yet, foolish woman with an idle face, can tie my rage up. Though I see my blood, 'tis was a fond act. But when next we meet, I do defy thee to mortal battle. Prepare to die.
Oh, 'tis a thing I've studied, sir.
And they exit. It's like they've learnt nothing. It's just because it's actually I really enjoyed that scene because they're doing hey you boof boof, and she just comes in and just goes, oh, for the just grow up, you children, you man babies. It's just and it's like I don't care who started it. If any of you don't come anywhere near me, don't fight if you dare. And yeah, I wonder if and there is an exit line on that. So that is actually mic drop moment for Antiope. It is literally off. And then they just go, okay, I'm gonna kill you anyway, and it's just like prepare to die. Yeah, I enjoyed that. Alan.
I'm almost wondering whether the author was working to a formula, because we had the comedy sequence earlier with the Beotto, the frantic alleged heir to the throne. We've now had the fight scene. I almost wonder whether there's fine. I want one of those. I want one of those. I want one of those.
Well, yes and no. I mean, what I find interesting with this scene is, of course, it's sort of mirroring what we've not been seeing with Florimond, etc. This is sort of the potential for that other plot line that we actually haven't seen on stage. They've been just hurling invective and being very confused because Calidor's really got no idea what's going on. Which is something we didn't talk about in the previous scene. It's just he's on there going, oh god, this is I'm not up to this social mobility larks. Oh, this is hard work. And this guy comes on and just harangues him for stuff, and he's like, I don't know why you're talking to me. So it's like this plot line is sort of doing what the A plot line probably should be doing, but isn't. And actually I find that really interesting. So it's like, hey, you came here for this plot. We've put it over here so you can have your fighting. And you can enjoy that, and we'll get on with the other plot, doing something slightly different. Brian.
I find that this far into the play, I still haven't figured out exactly what kind of world we're in, and the point of curiosity is whether there's whether there's actually going to be magic. It feels like we are with the characters drawn and the social conventions and the fate sense of fate behind and the appeals to the gods. It feels like we're in the far exurbs of Arcadia somewhere. But nothing has actually happened. There's been a mention of a curse and appeals to gods. I'm just curious if that's going to be important or not.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because then all bets really are off as to where the plot's going, isn't it? If magical things can be, because we got someone who's not quite sure why they're pregnant. So
Yep.
magic is potentially involved there. And yeah. Okay, let's finish this act and see where we're at. So, Act 2, Scene 8. Enter Ariste, Achaea, lady, undressing to bed.
Madam, pray ye to bed. Indeed, 'tis late.
And yet no raven croaks. Does there, Ariste? Is there no vulture that can smell a carcass foul and deformed as I am? Tell me, ladies, do I not look all hell, all sin, all sorrow? Yet methinks you weep not.
You do too much.
Alas, you are all cruel. You should teach me to wring my hands thus,
And she sits down and falls in a passion.
thus, or with more passion, if it were possible, and lend your eyes for me to weep my tears through. Methinks, wenches, 'twere very easy for your wretched mistress to personate Niobe, if you, hard-hearted, could as well act her daughters. Thus, Ariste, thy blubbered eyes should look, and thy lip, drawing awry by death's cold hand, should mutter woes. Good madam, lay your chin upon your hand, and with the other cling about my neck, while I curse yon gods, and pull down their marble. Now the downcast eye, I send my sorrows to my poor belly. Big Ariste is your unhappy queen, and yet a virgin. What shall I bring forth, think you, to the world? Perhaps I shall give grief a body, girls.
Good madam, do not mock yourself and us. The world would laugh at such a tale as this. If you have closely sinned through imperfection, tell us. We are your faithful handwomen and can lock up our tongues.
Can you be faithless? I call yon light to witness with her brother I am a virgin. Neither can I tell my heart did ever feel a vicious flame until within this week. But since I saw this stranger Calidor walking in perfection, I fear that I have felt, I fear it, wenches, something called lust within me.
Pray, madam, pray. I fear the gods have sent out their decree to ruin Corsica.
Pity me, ladies, for we should know no shame amongst ourselves. I must enjoy him ere tomorrow night, or else bring forth the melancholy bier and lay me lower than my woes.
Good madam, it is not possible man should be so dull as not to feel his wrongs in such a case. Then who can tell how far they'll hurry him?
It is no matter. Let me but enjoy him, and then I care not what he comes to know. Have we not men enough to awe one stranger? And who dare touch my fame?
Now I can weep.
And so can I, too, at my wickedness, which yet I needs must love.
How will the world and Florimond take these things, break out in wildfire when he feels his hopes thus beyond miserable?
Art thou blinded? I have told him all, made him forswear his right to me, and given him an oath to break my love to Calidor.
O gods, what mischief can we bring on foolish man that once adores us? Madam, you will make our sex abhorred, and the field of love lie overgrown with weeds. Mankind will fear our very looking glasses lest they be poisoned.
Love will have no disputes. Oh, who can find a salve to cure inflamed woman's mind?
And exit. End Act 2. Oh, this is so weird. I'm fascinated by this text. It's doing so many things, and I'm not sure why. And I like that. I like not. I was talking about we're at the sort of point where there are so many conventions, and there are conventions. This is a very conventional text in so many ways. But why is she pregnant? Is this a Rosemary's Baby situation? What's going on here? Is this parthenogenesis? Is it the second coming? I don't know. Is it magic, or is it just all this stuff, and Achaea, who is she? Her character's really, really interesting. I'm very curious as to what you do with this, especially where it goes as well. Because there is something very innocent about it. Someone who doesn't seem to necessarily know the way of the world. Is obviously has lots of privilege for obvious reasons. And yet is also is I think genuinely quite scared about what the hell's going on.
I never know what to do with her lines from one scene to the next. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, is that deliberate, or is that just inconsistent writing because it needs a second draft? It's because I think it's full of potential. Because there's some really good lines in this, and the relationship with the servant's really nice. The way the servant and the way she does this demonstration of, look, let me show you how you should be looking at this. Is how I feel. It's performative. It's giving an actor something to do. It's just creating that as a role that makes sense is an interesting question. Should we make it make sense? Maybe that's just our modern sensibilities getting in the way. Brian.
Usually, well before this point in a play, I've made up my mind whether I trust the production team or the author, whatever I'm looking at, whether I feel like I'm in good hands, whether I trust them to deliver me somewhere worthy of the time spent. And this is very hard to decide. It's certainly, carefully done by someone smart but I don't quite trust it yet. I don't know in retrospect if I will decide that it has all been purposeful and worthwhile. It's pulling in so many directions.
I'm thoroughly expecting it not to be purposeful and worthwhile, but I think it's going to be a fun ride. I suspect when we get to the end, we'll just sort of still be going, what? Yeah. Any other thoughts before we go into Act 3? Lynn?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Alan when he said it there's something sort of formulaic about it. We've got a comedy scene, we've got a fight scene, So yeah, I think that all feels pretty predictable. But then sort of the content of those scenes is not what the form would imply, if that makes any sense. It's I mean, I agree with Brian. It's just like, yeah, you usually know by now whether you trust yourself in the hands of the author, and I don't know what this is gonna do. So weird.
I like it. I like that. I say we're open for terrible disappointment with this at this stage, but to be fair, terrible disappointment is actually the default setting. Ending plays is actually quite hard, and frequently, and I think I'm increasingly thinking that this is something. Just the problem of the way plays are turned over in the early modern period is actually there's never quite enough time to hone a text in the same way as, say, a modern playwright will do. So everything ends up getting towards the end, and then it's just like wrap it up, and you never quite get the level of detail in the end as you do at the beginning when everything's a bit fresh. But that's an ongoing thesis. We'll work on that as we go. Any other thoughts? Otherwise, we'll dive into Act 3. Okay, Act 3, Scene 1. It's moving a fair old lick, it has to be said. We haven't not discussed it, but we're moving on pretty well, actually. I think we're on schedule. Act 3, Scene 1. Enter Diocles and Captain.
Strange whispers, cuz. Strange whispers.
But what?
Nay, I'm loath to be thought to flatter. There are as many titles coming towards thee as will load a coach and 6 horses. Thou art sure to rise.
Pretty, what's the matter?
The queen's with child.
The devil she is!
There leapt a dog.
With child?
Plague on you, speak softly. I would be loath to be hanged for your advancement, but she being so, which is the general private whisper, she'll be thought unworthy to rule. Antiope will be proclaimed Mary's Phocillus, your noble patron, and so spring up, my honourable lord.
I see Beotto is not altogether a fool. Shall acquaint him with it?
If you desire to get your head a place upon the council house to overlook the coronation of your lord, or that 'tis such a fine thing to draw all the women in the city to see your belly ripped up while you administer matter of lamentation to the greedy-eyed virgins, you may cry it. Queens with child.
Strange. Things to undo belief. I overtook her, and so, I think, did all the world, for a piece of incomparable chastity. She is the epitome of all external excellencies. But what is a woman for belief to build upon?
These are not cates for our mouths. 'Tis safer plotting treason against Beotto.
By my troth, I'm much taken with him.
Soothe his humour, and you have his heart.
I've wrought him so that he verily persuades himself he shall be crowned within this week. I stand bare to him, promise to further his title with my sword, and now thou shalt hear.
Indeed, Act 3, Scene 2, enter Beotto to Captain and Diocles.
Have you got any more on our side?
11 houses of the planet stand for you, and 16 horoscopes are infallibly yours.
I'll knight 'em all.
And the city, too, most judicially will take your part.
But my host of the almanac swears rather than the queen shall want banners, he'll display his 12 signs against yours, and then his tapster Aquarius mortally defies your red nose.
I'll have 'em both hanged.
No, command that none drink at its house. 'Twill undo them, so that they must necessarily steal him. Then you may hang them.
Put on your hat, Captain.
I beseech you, sir. For my prince? Diocles, what have we proclaimed his son king?
I'll never consent to it, for I cannot believe Beotto got him.
Why?
He's gelded.
Is this not flat treason now again?
Besides, he'll kill himself with mere state frumity and cut up custard by the belly to the everlasting stain of his way beard.
You will be a traitor, Diocles.
Why, you must be ruled by counsel, then. I say your son must marry the princess, and you must be proclaimed.
And yet I feel I am not quite done. What if I ennobled her that way?
Why, what a perverse fellow are you? I say again, your son must marry her, and you, by virtue of your majesty, may lie with her.
And where must he lie?
Oh, foolish king, where must he lie? Why, what a question's this? Where do men lie at when others lie with their wives?
Patience, good Doricles, I'm satisfied.
On to the proclamation, then, whereas most stupid and illiterate Beotto being, and with the reasons for your claim to the crown.
As I am descended from my grandfather and then married my wife out of the blood royal, and that she sprung out of 3 ancient houses.
One new house, man, which sprung out of 3 ancient ones.
And then it must run along with we and our.
Why, now you speak like a king. And then there must be a stipend to some ballad maker. He'll do more in the country than a justice of the peace, and make neither head or foot of your enemies. He can put him in a woeful tune.
I am ruled by you.
Things thus matured, Captain, Ares with his city forces shall surprise the court, you at the same instant appearing with your beard half shaved off, which will aptly signify the disgrace you have been exposed to.
So,
that no man for 2 months' space shall be able to beard you.
A fine plot.
Your hat stuck full of feathers, which will express you have plucked your enemy's wings in your hand, a wooden sword betokening mercy.
I hope right will prevail, and they will take my part, perhaps shall be lords still.
Be secret, then.
But if Natolion should cause me to be whipped again about the court.
'Tis crimen lese majestatis adjudged. Besides, he is bound to repair your buttocks out of his monopoly of fidget skins.
You do not mock me, Diocles.
Go, and then pray. Go, there's Natolion.
And yes, we'll pause there as they are to one side or exited as other people come on for scene 3. So yeah, they're setting Beotto up here to look a right nana, aren't they? Really, as the ridiculous wooden sword covered in feathers, doing all this sort of mock heraldic / horoscopial business, and it's like, we've got this situation where he's obviously Natolion just whips him again on a semi-regular basis every time he turns up with a claim to the throne. So it looks like this is not unusual. It's just slightly more, though they are talking about serious politics at the beginning. They're talking about, the Queen is with child. There's this stuff. Maybe this could go a bit further than it usually does. So yeah, it's a comedy scene, but it is also dealing with the actual business of the A plot on some level, and delivering us a sense that the story is out. Those waiting women, one of them might have leaked, or someone's leaked anyway. Aliki.
Yeah, I mean, Diocles keeps doing this. He's like, let me tell you something. Oh, but it might be treason. Let's talk about this. Careful, don't let anybody hear you. And then he's like, oh, tell you what, this is all a bit too risky. Let's go make fun of that idiot instead.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is if you can get him to do all the treason, then you can just sit back and enjoy it. So yeah, because all of this is very treasonous. You really don't talk about the heirs to thrones and things with this in this kind of way, and it's not a healthy thing to do in the early modern period. Okay, any other thoughts? Otherwise, we'll continue. Effectively, the scene continues, even though we go into a slightly different mode. Act 3, Scene 3, enter Natolion and Florimond drawn.
What? Will thou turn beast?
Serpent, anything that may express me son of such a father. Oh, my drowned heart burst not. A father, said I. A tiger, wolf, a devil in his shape, or anything that is worse.
Yet thou art my son.
I know not. I am some disease of nature bred in thee, I think, else I would kill my mother. But I cannot believe I am a son, for then I should not sure run into destruction through thy heart, as now I must. What monster would have thrown his brood from such a hope as thou hast to me, thou den of dragons? But I have a sting here, shall eat away into my bloody rest through thy accursed bowels.
Must I hear this ungodly parricide?
Natolion breaks his head. After a little pause, Florimond kneels.
I thank you, sir. That now was like a father. You have quelled me. Yet 'tis your own blood, this. And each drop here should trickle from that rocky heart of yours, but you are merciless. A father's name chains up the rage that I might justly loose to your confusion now. Then why should you by violence pull that duty from my heart which the gods gave me for your sure defense? You have wronged me, sir, you know you have. But it becomes not me to tell you so. Howe'er my rage has done it, which I rue, why should you set yourself against my bliss? Alas, what hurt could my advancement do you? Good sir, if you'll not be a father to me, yet do not prove a Saturn to devour your noble children. It is too late to use these prayers, for there's nothing stands but my hope's ruin now, which you have signed.
I'm too old to weep, but trust me, boy, my heart bleeds for thee. Will ye pardon me? For if thou knewest all, thou would not curse me.
Heavens, what various torments have you for poor man? A father's sorrow to his son wounds more than 40 injuries. Would I had met a ball of lightning riding on a cloud ere such a killing dart. Beg pardon of me. Alas, what am I that you should do so? I'm so full of sorrow to the mouth it stops my utterance.
I am thy father in all things but the matching with the queen, in that thy enemy. Ask me not why, I must not tell thee.
Exit Natolion.
That unhappy name will follow my misfortunes to the dust, and there I shall be quiet.
Act 3, Scene 4. Enter Calidor to Florimond.
Noble friend, why, what's the matter? Who hath done this to thee?
Who but a father durst, and I a sword?
It cannot be.
I am loath to quarrel with thee, but prithee, have a care.
How's this?
I love thee better than witches do revenge, and yet come not too near, for I shall wrong thee much.
Why, this is very strange.
How my heart abhors this villainy. Is it not pity so to betray that noble shape to scorn? Ah, that I could go backward from my oath, but still it pulls me. Let me see thy sword.
Why so?
Why, let me. Would I could make him fight that he might kill me. Prithee, let's see how thou and I can fight. Prithee, let's see how thou and I can fight.
Away, away.
We must be Hercules. I'll strike thee.
You will not. Who hath infused these discontents into thee? Name him to me, and by my love to you, than which the gods know nothing greater, he shall feel my anger.
You will not fight then?
How? With thee? Not for my honor, if it lay at stake.
Then you must swear to answer my request.
Calidor kisses his sword.
By my sword I will, I've sworn.
How easily are we led to wrong ourselves. Thou wilt give me leave to kiss thy lady's hand, and be not jealous, wilt thou, Calidor? I know thou wilt.
The chambers of the dead are not more dark than thou.
The queen, whose bright eye love hath 1,000 kingdoms.
Why, what of her?
Dost thou not feel thy blood already warm? Is not a new joy born into thy heart?
Thou wouldst say something that I dare not hear.
Not here. Why, she's composed of harmony. The spheres move in her, and the wanton boy that is a god to others waits on her, and he commands thy love. Nay, start not, man. The gods could do no less for thee in justice.
I cannot think she's such an enemy to virtue to forget thy excellent merits.
She would advance him, friend, in taking thee.
Away. Thou canst not speak this from my heart. Then do not thus dissemble with thy friend. These are poor ways to sound me. Do not use them. Come, you are overladen with your joys, since this is your private match. Your eyes instruct me where you have lain last night.
Do not mock me. The bed is kept for thee, and I resign it. Go thrive in daily losing of thyself in her embraces. Pluck her growing kisses, and take her beamy eyes into thy bosom, full of conserves of love and lasting joy.
Why, this is very strange. My thoughts lead me to the belief that you are married. You had married her.
Who can rightly search a woman's heart? The deepest seas have bottoms, and man's skill can mount into the bosom of the stars, but never any trod the maze of woman's thoughts. But pardon me, my friend. 'Tis all the happiness I can now hope to see thee twining in her arms that wait to entertain thee. I must have no nay, for such a word will kill her.
I'll not wrong thee.
It is no injury to a willing man, and though my heart must shortly burst with grief for speaking thus much, yet to gain the world I would not have thee slight her.
My honest heart will ne'er be brought to it.
Then may all the sorrows of mankind be thy companions. Thou hast my curse.
Stay, friend.
Exit Florimond.
Oh, my sad genius, guide me, for I am lost in thee.
And yes, continues Calidor standing and going, what the f is going on? This is just, he's got his catchphrase. I think he should say it every scene. This is most strange. Why this is very strange. Every so often. There's some very nice bits in this scene that I really, really like, because he's there going, oh, I really want to kill. No, I promised to do a thing. And then he makes Calidor to swear. And then he immediately says, yeah, you regret swearing for things. And that's a really nice bit. I really like that moment of him just, I'm just going to share my torment by sharing something with you that you promised not to disclose. And it's like, yeah, it's. I mean, Florimond is florid. I mean, he doesn't half go on, but I have to say, there's a lot of good stuff in there. I think that actually it just needs working on and some trims. But actually, the journey through this scene was a lot more satisfying than his previous one, where it just got, nasty. Whereas here, it's yeah, teenagers, man. Lynn.
Actually, I think in some ways these two last scenes work in really similar ways. This author seems to be really fond of actors having to portray internal emotional conflict. Natolion knows something that he can't tell us.
Yes.
Like there's an oracle that says that whoever the queen's first husband is dies or something.
Yeah.
He's obviously trying to protect his son, but can't tell him everything. So he's really conflicted. And Florimond is really conflicted. He wants to do what the woman he loves asks him to do. He's loyal to her to that degree, but of course it tears him up to say, she's in love with you, I'm giving her up for you. So I think the author's sort of indulging in that sort of emotional manipulation in both these scenes.
Yeah, but I do love the way that he's saying at the end you have my curse, and he's saying no, wait and stay and yeah, there's something quite nice about the way that sort of flows. Everyone seems conflicted. I think that's one of the things about Achaea as well, is just that everybody's sort of flitting. All the young people definitely are flitting back and forth, and I'm just looking at the older generation just going, just tell us the terrible secret, because you know what, I bet the plot of this play would not happen if you just disclose the terrible secret to everyone, because you know what, I think maybe keeping this a secret might be the problem. Terrible secrets, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, kids, do not go into the haunted house.
Why? Because no, it would be, oh, kids, don't go into the perfectly normal house. Why? I can't tell you. Nobody got murdered there. Anyway, right. Let us finish our session with Act 3, Scene 5 that we still have on Calidor. We have the entrance of Achaea, Antiope, Natolion, Phocillus, Alceus, and Dorimant as well. There's the Dorimant, rather. Everybody's coming on, apart from the person who just exited.
My lords, this is the gentleman I would have you observe henceforward as my husband and your prince. Methinks I see you wonder. Pray you, why? Am I not your undoubted queen? It will then better become your duties to applaud than question my intents.
The queen mounts her chair and places Calidor by her.
My lord and love, take thy own spirit and be what thou art. This bashfulness is unbeseeming, man. Give me a sacred kiss, for we are now so.
Madam, since 'tis your will to think me worthy your sacred person, and the world's great envy, I must not be so rude to undervalue what your opinion has made noble. But with this boldness I could wish your love had run another channel. You have lost a better servant, and more worthy this place than I am.
Lead to the closet, where we will unite two bodies to one soul.
Good madam, be more wise.
Sister, because you take upon you first to interrupt my purpose, you shall lead the example to the rest. My lord Dorimant, take her to safe custody, I command it. 'Tis well.
Madam,
Peace, sir. Lead on.
My lord Phocillus, restrain yourself. She will be lost, and none can hinder it.
Phocillus lays his hand on his sword, presumably actually before Natolion said that line. Anyway, they all exit, apart from Phocillus, Natolion, and Alceus. Act 3, Scene 6.
what? Is a woman set upon the devil? Heart, shall we take this?
How can we help it?
Castaway, an upstart.
Shall we, that other nobles suffer it? My lord, can you, whose son is thus shook off, be tame now?
I must, my lords, and yet.
Unclasp your soul to us. Here are no praetors.
You too, if you were friends, as you must lay your private spleens by for your country's cause, can work much in the city. Make haste thither, raise a commotion, rather coin a treason than live to look upon your country's ashes. Had I 1,000 hearts, they should go with you in any sudden action you propose.
We will do something, my lord Alceus. Here, let our mighty quarrel sleep a while, until our country's peaceful breath again blow into a flame for you to consume, or one or both of us.
They shake hands.
Content. I am content.
Why, now you are yourselves. I'll not be idle.
And they exit. One person's national catastrophe is another person's reconciliation. Isn't that sweet? It's like, for the greater good, we will stop being enemies. Yay. Yeah, so I just keep watching Calidor just going, sorry, what? I'm your husband now? What? I just feel like he's just standing in the center of the stage in almost every scene, just going, huh? Which I'm finding terribly entertaining. I don't think that's quite what the author was aiming at, but it's still very enjoyable. Okay, we're halfway through the play. I don't quite know what it's trying to do. I'm very entertained, but it is quite difficult to assess actually until we know how it's going to end. Because yeah. Yeah, so that's upset the court. She's made a decision. She's going to have Calidor, and the court's gone, shall we rebel?
Yes, let's. Yeah.
Mount just a small rebellion. It doesn't sound like they want a big rebellion. Just go and tell some people in the town to be a bit knocked. How's that? You know, that's their level of rebellion there.
And they don't ask why. Just any old rebellion will do. What should we propose exactly?
Yeah.
What will you do if we do? Why is this a good idea?
Rather coin a treason. So they're just going to make something up. It's like they're not going to go for the real reason because it's probably not good enough. Yeah. So hopefully they're going to make up a really good treason. That's something to look forward to next time. Mark.
Something like Beotto is the true king.
I do. That is my hope. I really do hope that plot line flourishes, because it's like otherwise it's just sat there not doing anything, and it's just like, oh, that's got such potential that this play could get. Because at the moment, okay, it's in theory labeled a tragedy. Does anyone get tragic vibes out of this yet? It's quite fun. This week we've been doing in other sessions, your pucker tragedy that does also happen to be quite funny and quite fun, but you do also have people being horribly, horribly killed. And as of yet, nobody's really been. I mean, there were some people got killed off stage at the beginning, but they clearly don't count. They're just you don't even get to see them. So yeah, is Beotto going to turn up looking like a complete train wreck, and then get lauded as the new king. And just standing over them, looking like this ridiculous, half-feathered, half-bearded, dead. I don't know. Mark.
Yeah, it occurs to me that it's Phocillus who says, "I will do something." And they established in the earlier scene with Beotto that, what was it, like Diocles or whatever, the that one gentleman who was egging him onto it, is a servant of Phocillus. So it feels like it's going in that direction. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, this is a really difficult one to round up and ask for final thoughts before we go into the final section, because genuinely don't have a scoop. I've really enjoyed it. I think this is on the lighter end of the spectrum in terms of texts. I don't think there's a lot to mine out of it, but there is definitely something to be played with here. I definitely think actors could have a lot of fun with that, and by that token, the audience will have a lot to enjoy. I think it's got a plot. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it's got a plot. We still don't know where the virgin birth came in. I'm hoping that resolution isn't really icky and horrible. Like it could be, it could be, that could be bad. I mean, yeah, it's like there's lots of stuff happening, but yeah. So I've got nothing. I mean, I'd love to just throw some actors at this one and put it on, because I'm really enjoying it, but I haven't got a pitch at this stage yet as to what this show is doing and what I do with it. So I've got nothing to give you at this stage. So you're on your own. Final thoughts, Connor. Any final thoughts halfway through the play?
I don't know where I am with this. And there's some really nice scenes. There's like a couple. I mean, my favorite so far has been Act 2, Scene 3. Like some really nice just scenes that I imagine would be great at drama school when I take it to the William Pole Festival. And I'm like, yeah, great. That would look great. Great fun for actors to play with. And then there's bits in between where I've got really no idea and no care either. It's not drawing me in and holding me. It's just we're halfway through and nothing's really happened significantly, which doesn't bode well for keeping your audience on their seats.
Yeah, it is a case of, yeah, are we grabbed and caring about these people, or are we just sort of following the bouncing of the action,
hoping that something happens,
Yeah, I mean, there's incidents, there's intrigue, but you're right, in terms of solid action, we've had a sword fight. But we haven't actually had. We've set up a lot of wheels have turned. There are a lot of hairs running everywhere, but they haven't really been caught and wrestled to the ground yet. Mark, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like we as the audience are surprised by a lot of things that are happening so far, but how much do we care about it? I'm not sure, because it is feeling hard to really get your grip on where it's going.
I mean, I think with a lot of detailed work, I can care for the Achaea. I think that there are a lot of mixed signals coming from the character, but I think there's stuff that can be done with that. Florimond, with some work and some trims, I think his dialogue flows really. You're reading really nicely, and I felt there's a lot of good stuff in there. There's also some bad stuff, but then it's a matter of deciding whether we keep those awkward moments in the character, because he doesn't have to be wholly sympathetic. But there is something there. It's just how we wrangle that out of the text, I think is one of those big questions. Rachel, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I was just thinking it's Achaea's struggle that I feel most interested in. I'm trying, she's under the weight of this curse that she doesn't know about, that she's really struggling to figure out. Yeah, it's her that I find is anchoring my interest in here.
Is this a fairy tale curse situation? Is that going to be fully developed? Because it feels like that's half-heartedly there. Is it an actual curse, or is it just an awkward blood relation thing? Because they're quite different things. But if there's a proper curse, and we can set it in a fairy kingdom kind of logic, then that gives us something to play with. Alan, any final thoughts?
I must admit, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I think it ought to be set at a youth club rather than a court. and Natolion is the only alleged adult in the room. You know, the rest of them are all barely pubescent teens with decidedly emotional issues.
I think that's a really good point. Actually, it does feel like something that you could give to students, and they'd really get their teeth into it. And that you're right, that sort of emotional illiteracy that's going on here is appropriate, and yeah, there's a lot of potential in that, and we found other plays like that, which feel very adolescent. And not in a bad way necessarily. But yeah, there might be legs there.
I mean, if it was earlier, I would almost thought this is a boys' company type material. With that age group of performers. Natolion is simply one of the older boys with a bit of talcum powder in his hair.
I mean, we have no auspices for this at all. We really don't know where it comes from or who it was for. I mean, it could be for a university audience. That's possible within the logic of the play. We don't really have boys' companies as we've known them at this point. I think they're broadly speaking done. We don't even really know who the author is. We just don't know anything about this play apart from it exists, and it is collected with a very disparate selection of plays in the manuscript collection that it comes with, none of which give us any particular clue as to where they came from, just that they weren't used as pie dishes. Lynn, any final thoughts?
Yeah, less than usual. Because I like everyone else in the room, I don't know where to have it. The curse and stuff gives it kind of a romance fairy tale vibe. And starting with it like someone who has a near-death injury usually means it goes in the other direction, that it goes from sadness to happiness. But it's called a tragedy. I really don't know. I do think we're going to be disappointed with Beotto. I think that's just going to be a side thing, an excuse for comic banter that's not going to braid into the central plot. But oh well. I tune in tomorrow, folks, for the exciting conclusion, because I don't know.
Yeah, I'm. This is where I get very excited. Just going, I don't know what he's doing. It's great. Brian, any final thoughts?
Not much. I endorse the observation that it's emotional illiteracy and adolescent cast. That would be very appropriate. I liked your remark, Robert, about not knowing if it's a fairy tale or not. That feels like we're still haven't figured out if it's a world driven by magic and gods or not. And that's part of the general sense that it's neither fish nor flesh, and we don't know where to have it. That's about it.
Aliki, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with Alan and Brian. The only thing I can kind of hook onto and understand is maybe setting it all in the febrile atmosphere of a high school.
Well, we have one more session. It's not a long play, and actually it moved incredibly fast. We've actually finished early in real terms, even though we've done about 2,000 words more than we normally do in a session. So that's that. I like a play that moves at a lick. That makes me happy. It means we can choose to make cuts rather than we are sort of enforced to make cuts. I do think there are cuts. I do think there are some tweaks after that first scene where there are some bits. Florimond goes on too long, basically, is the basic structural problem. Good though some of it is, there's a bit much of it, and he enjoys the sound of his own voice rather too much. But speaking of people who enjoy the sound of their own voice too much, that's it from me. So if you'd like to join us in this wonderful Zoom room and be out there, you can not just watch these on YouTube, you can join us. We have sign-ups for these sessions, are always on the website at beyondshakespeare.org. Go to the join in section. There is always updated sign-up sheets if I remember to update them. And yes, you can join us and read along and find out what we're finding out as it happens. But all that remains to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye, insatiate butter women.